All right. Social media friends, welcome to this Monday live stream episode of Serving Veterans Who Served Us. As my co-host Jason and I were kind of catching up with each other, I asked him, I said, hey, what's new? So without me answering the question for him, let's bring him into the conversation. So, hey, Jason, what's new?
I think that intro music is new. Is that new music you put on?
No, it's the same one.
Really?
Yeah.
Felt like you sped the tempo up or something. I wanted to dance a little bit.
Maybe I raised the volume louder and I did some fade in, fade out stuff to make it fancy for us.
Getting fancy.
Yeah. So what's new?
Well, we were talking about just how tight inventory is getting. I mean, we're down. I was looking at the numbers real quick. We're down from last year at this time 17% lower inventory than last year, and last year was kind of tight.
Yeah.
But in that same breath, we are up on properties under contract is up 9.7%. So almost 10% more contracts are being signed right now with 20% almost less inventory, which is, that makes for a tight market. When something good comes on the market, it's gone pretty quick. It's under contract pretty quick. We're still seeing, 50 some days on market for most properties because they got to go through due diligence if they're financing and all that.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that strikes me, even though we have this squeeze on inventory, Chicagoland being the land of steady ready. Everything is still, our detached single family homes are still $350K on average, which is exactly what it was the year before. And the year before that, it was a little less than that. So we're still a real good value for major metropolitans, for sure. Despite if you can find a house, you're still getting good value.
That is true. That's true. And so with that, audience members, as part of what Jason mentioned, let me share with you and Jason from a third party this visual and statistics that does show and confirm Chicago Metro is at the bottom of the list as far as housing supply growth. So let me bring it up here. So here we go. Look at this, right? Raleigh, North Carolina is the top of this list with housing supply. So, their market may be flipping or have flipped from seller's market, either going through balanced market and now buyer's market. And then here's way at the bottom, Chicago. Surprising, right? But you said it. You kind of confirmed some of that data. Yeah.
That's an interesting chart too, because you see those two Florida cities in there. You see Tampa and Miami and and Orlando. There's three of them. They're still building. and I mean, our data shows a lot of people leaving Florida right now. So
exactly. Yeah.
That's interesting. Really interesting.
Yeah. Now this is, this is percent change in July inventory. So take it, how you will. this is July 2025, so it's 30 days back, and maybe it's just, because it's a percentage change, could it just be a percentage change from 1 month ago versus a year ago? It wasn't very clear, so I'm going to qualify it that way.
Okay. Fair
Okay. So interesting, as you mentioned, that supply is tight, right? Supply is tight for us here. There's more contract activity, but then I read somewhere, Jason, where there's maybe like a 10 to 20%. So let's average it out. 15% fallout of things that go under contract, then they get out of contract. What are usually the reasons behind that, in your opinion?
Yeah, I saw that in the national news too. A lot of that happening. Main reason I see contracts fall out in our area is unemployment. If somebody loses their job in the middle of a transaction, you can't get financed if you don't have a job.
True.
Another thing is just stupid mistakes. If somebody goes and buys a car in the middle of trying to buy a house, am I right? Will, am I right?
You are right.
That screws everything up. Everything up. You also had, and this happened a lot during COVID actually, where somebody would pass away during a deal. If they pass away, they obviously can't get the house.
True,
so those are the big ones, but we are seeing some more superfluous. How do you say that word?
Superfluous.
There you go. There you go. Get our advanced vocab out there. We're seeing some kind of strange stuff too. And you were sharing a really interesting story about that.
I know.
We're seeing some weird ones. People backing out at the last second.
Do you find it? Do you find it normal when a buyer may terminate their purchase contract, their purchase offer, right after attorney inspection review? That would be a normal thing to do because, right, maybe from the home inspection and their attorney's review of the inspection results, the long list of issues may just be too much for the buyer to deal with, and or the seller says, I don't want to deal with any of that stuff. So, the falling in love falls apart right then, right there, right?
Yeah, nobody wants to buy a house with a cracked foundation, for example.
Bingo. So that would be normal in your professional opinion when you are representing a seller and or buyer, doesn't matter. But if you get past attorney inspection review and you as a broker representing either side starts to get the feeling, or you hear directly like, I want to get out of this, does it make you kind of like, what the hell?
Yeah. People can get cold feet. They can have change in family circumstances.
True.
That's a big one. If there's some people try to fix an oncoming divorce by buying a new house, and that never works. And sometimes that fallout happens during the process because it's a stressful process, and sometimes they're calling us 2 years later to sell the house that they just bought. So that happens a lot. But yeah, there's all kinds of scenarios that can pop up. But
so what do you do? What have you done? What would you do? Right? I don't know if you've ever gone through it, but let's say, what have you done? What would you do when your client does that and you are obviously past attorney inspection review? What do you do?
Well, if I'm on the sell side and the buyer backs out and they just say, no, I don't want the house anymore, and they don't have any cause from the inspection or attorney review, say goodbye to your earnest money, because seller's going to take that.
Got it.
Yeah, and that's what earnest money is. It's it's your ante to play the game, to get into the market and say I
like how you said that. It's your earnest money. It's your good faith deposit that you're not fooling around.
And a lot of folks think that, oh, I'm not going to lose that. Well, even if you don't lose it, it's going to be held up in escrow for the entire time that you are litigating or arbitrating that money with the seller that you kind of went against and told that you didn't want that house. So if you've got 25 grand sitting in escrow, that's not accruing any interest. It's just sitting there doing nothing. So you're actually losing money for those months that you're going to be trying to get out of this thing. It's even if you win the money back, you still lose. So it's not worth it. Like, make sure you really want that house. But I can tell you, we just had one really interesting. One of my agents had a buyer client, or no, a seller. Sorry, go back. There's so many. It's good. Had a buyer client who, or no, this is the seller. Okay, seller client. She wanted to sell the house and walk away with some money. Turns out she's underwater on the house. She thought she had a grant when she really didn't. She owed money. And so she's like, I'm going to back out of this deal. And it was literally like 2 days before closing. And, we had to have a moment with her, the attorneys. I had to get involved as managing broker and just say to her, like, look, you're going to get sued. Like, this buyer wants this house and you agreed to this house. It's supposed to close in a couple of days. You can't say, I'm not selling it to you now because my numbers don't work out.
Got it.
Like, you knew that the numbers didn't work out.
Right.
You were just hoping that nobody was going to notice. I don't know what she was hoping.
Okay.
So she had to go through with it. So what we did on our side, just to help her, is the agents agreed to drop their commissions so that she could, and she only walked away with like $2,000, but at least she didn't come out where she had to pay at the end.
Yeah, that's not pleasant. I hear you.
Yeah, not good at all. But at that point, you got a buyer and they got a family and they want to move into a house and start school, and so we just thought it best to get the deal done for everybody. So we had both realtors drop their commission and give it just enough to give her a little bit of money. So
hey, I hear and I know of those stories. It's not a majority fraction of the time, but like you said, every transaction is different, even though your process, my process is the same. Yeah. That's for sure. Right. And at the end of the day, we're dealing with humans, real people's emotional life events. Things can be stressful. And just like you touched on earlier, if you're adding 2 or 3 stressors to the one obvious stressor of getting to the next chapter, making a move, it gets difficult.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah. All right. We have a psychologist in on some of these deals.
I know that we earn our honorary degrees in our business for as long as we've been doing it, right? In psychology.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So you've answered one common question from a buyer, which is, hey, Jason, what are the possibilities? What are the risks of my losing earnest money? And the answer is, if you mess around, you're not serious, and you let time pass, yes, you run the risk of losing that earnest money. The seller earns the right to keep it flat out from you.
Yep.
Yeah. What's another common question you get from clients these days, you or your team of agents and brokers?
Like a common question with regards to closing?
Yeah, closing or, broker compensation, fair game.
Yeah, I mean, broker compensation is an interesting one because we had the suit last year where it had to be more clearly put out for the clients so that the buyer and the seller both knew exactly how much people were being compensated. It was a little confusing for the consumer before. So that got cleaned up. And since that year has passed, this actually was national news too. The commission nationally for real estate agents has gone up. So there was never an issue. It appears there wasn't an issue with the cost of the realtor. The value is there for the major life event that the realtor orchestrates.
Yeah.
The issue was that there wasn't enough transparency in the process.
Bingo.
Yeah. So we're seeing more. And our average here, I would say right before COVID was just above 2.6 for one side of the transaction. And now we're seeing it push over almost up to 3%.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pushed up quite a bit. And a lot of the buyers agents are, they're having a retainer put on the front to make sure that buyers are staying loyal to them. If they're going to take them through the process of looking at 20, 30, 40 homes, they want to make sure they're going to stick around. So there's a lot of retainers being paid out now. So upfront, which I think is a good, solid thing. It shows, again, skin in the game, like you're invested,
Yeah.
So that's been happening.
Unfortunately, on my side of the business, we don't get to do that.
Yeah. I know.
We kind of get we can easily get burned, unfortunately, unless something changes in the future for us. Yeah.
And I know a lot of brokerages too. The realtors, they catch a lot of flack, and we caught a lot of flack last year from that NAR settlement that went down. The problem wasn't really the realtors, it was the brokerages, because the brokerages are the ones who write these contracts.
Right.
And the brokerages are the ones who stick extra fees in. It's not the realtors that are doing that for the most part. There may be one or a few that do it, but not most. So we have a lot of brokerages that say you have to use this specific listing agreement that we have created for you. And it's got this fee in it and this fee in it, all these junk fees, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of the realtors don't have flexibility. Like my realtors in that case I just told you about from before, they were able to lower their commission because their splits are, they're getting 95% of their pay. I'm only taking 5% from those particular realtors, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they can cut their commission and they're still taking home a ton of money.
Got it.
The issue is, when you've got a realtor who's giving up 40 or 30% of their commission to the brokerage, they don't want to make deals like that.
Right.
And it becomes harder for the consumer. So a lot of interesting things happening on that front too. So
yeah, I hear you. So let's now, as we wrap up, play a game, have a conversation about this. And it is, Jason, what would you do? Kind of like how this woman is pondering, like, oh, what would I do? And my question is simply this. What would you do, Jason? This is a client story that I was involved in.
Oh, no.
Yeah. What would you do if a client that you're representing a seller, right? And this client, this buyer client, goes through all of the phases of the real estate process: attorney inspection review, mortgage financing process. So they clear those gates, as I call it. Earnest money, appropriate amount was pledged. And then you get the clear to close from a lender. The buyer gets to closing and says, I don't want to buy this property anymore. What would you do representing your seller?
Well, we're going to have an attorney at the closing table, so that's going to be helpful.
Right.
And the attorney is going to say, yeah, you can walk away, but we're keeping your earnest money.
I agree.
Yeah.
I
agree. We're going to keep your earnest money. That's it. You lost 15, 20, 25,000 or more because you got cold feet.
I completely agree with you. And by the way, as part of this story, if I'm your seller, right, you're representing me, and then we get to this, we go through this process, 30-day time frame or less or a little bit more, doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I both know, as a seller, you're usually not going to closing. There's not a reason. My attorney and you guys are there covering my butt, if you will, right? And then you make that phone call to me back to the storyboard and say, Bill, there's an issue. And then I'm like, well, what's the issue? And you say, well, buyer's not going to close. Buyer's choosing not to buy.
Yeah.
And I now am emotionally like, what the heck? And then you tell me, well, you're probably in the right to keep the earnest money. I'm like, yeah, make it happen, Jason. Well,
yeah.
Here is what I also learned. Back to the storyboard. This buyer was able to get his earnest money back. Can I tell you why? And here's the mic drop.
Ugh.
That lender who qualified, approved, issued a clear to close to that buyer, then issued a loan denial. Weird, isn't it?
Yeah. So the attorneys that I recommend to my clients, which 90% of the time they use,
right.
And then my agents, they use the same attorneys. They would definitely be looking into that because there might be some litigation against the lender for that.
Yeah.
Because if that paperwork doesn't make sense, if that denial doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
That's
unless, let's be real, unless there's so much more to the backstory other than the buyer's loan is denied for obvious reason. It's because, like, well, you dropped the clear to close. We schedule closing. We're at the closing table, right? And then boom. So yeah, I agree with you. When I heard this story, I scratched my head, and then I'm like, this story stinks. It smells fishy.
And I will say, even with that loan denial, if we're gonna press a case against both parties, which we would, then that money's still gonna get held up.
True.
It's not going anywhere. It's gonna sit in escrow until this gets resolved. So it's not like they're gonna get their money back and they can go down the street and buy another house.
Yeah.
That money's gonna be tied up for a long time.
Yeah.
Doing nothing but losing value against inflation. So
I hear you.
Good luck.
So, audience members,
Crazy.
Whether you are selling or buying, Jason and I in today's live stream episode of Serving Veterans Who Served Us, you've heard some of these pretty realistic storyboards of unusual circumstances. Let's certainly hope you're not caught in one of these. And for that reason, it's so important to make sure that you have the right real estate team helping and representing you. So what does that mean? The right real estate team is simply that of, for example, making sure that, you get proper representation with a real estate broker. And of course, along the way, if you need to finance that real estate purchase, the right lender working with brokers to help get you from point A to point B. So with all of that said, if you are looking to sell or buy real estate in the near future, you feel like I don't have the right team yet, I need the right team, all you need to do is scan the QR codes that you see here, and Jason and I will gladly start a conversation with you. So as we wrap up, Music Posse, play us out. Jason, I will see you in the next episode 4 weeks out. Enjoy your day today. Audience members, see you also in the next episode.